Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? I figured I'd have a little bit longer before I had to make a video like this. I knew that after Dragoneer's passing, which we discussed in the last video, um, that maybe I would have a bit more time before I had to do a video on the new Fur Affinity staff being tested. Um, but unfortunately, we did not have to wait too long. Probably it's no coincidence. It seems like there was an issue that happened. It doesn't seem, there was definitely an issue that happened over the past in the last week at this point, where Fur Affinity had to take down their website because a person had gotten access and was able to commit to a man-in-the-middle attack. So a man-in-the-middle attack, for those of you who are not too technically savvy, is basically somebody getting into the infrastructure of the site and basically is able to redirect information that is usually for the site to their own sort of and giving it to themselves. And a person who has like a really good keen eye on being able to social engineer can take advantage of being in the middle of the flow of information in order to acquire information that they shouldn't know. This person who was able to do this for Affinity ended up getting access to not only for Affinity's domain proper, but they were also able to get access to the Fur Affinity's Twitter account and also Dragoneer's Twitter account, using information that they were able to glean from this sort of man-in-the-middle attack. Fortunately for us, that this person seems to not have been as was not able to keep a cool head once they were discovered. They were kind of throwing darts all over the place and seeing what would stick. As soon as their cover was blown, like they were doing a bunch of random things that made it like very, very clear to anybody that like the site was definitely compromised. And they did a bunch of things, like, and it doesn't seem like they had really a plan in place once they were discovered. And we were very fortunate on that. And we're also very fortunate that the staff was able to get back hold of the website. It doesn't seem like much damage was done to the artist pieces on the site. So luckily, that is a fortunate thing for us on right now. So as said in the last video I did about Dragoneer's passing, if you are a person who is an artist or a content creator, always have some sort of offline sort of hard drive. If you're a person who creates a lot of content, having a hard drive, portable hard drive, what were you, to put all your art pieces in, to keep them organized, to have like sort of a private portfolio, as it were, is important. Even if you have all your works on the internet, it helps to protect that in case somebody gets onto or does take over a website and does nefarious things with it, such as this individual did. But fortunately for us, that this ended up being sort of as far as like the as far as a hack and a downtime for Fur Affinity goes, it actually wasn't too horrible. It was about a day and a half of basically. At first, they were like, "Don't," At first it was like, "Don't go to this website," and it even got so bad at some point where Firefox had actually flagged Fur Affinity as a sort of phishing attempt site, so that nobody could access it at a certain point. So basically, as of the time of this video, and it is actually, I think it was as of the time of Thursday, August 22nd, they've been back online and you can use the website as normal now. They were able to regain control of the website. The person had utilized, unfortunately, what it sounds like, and this is just hearsay, sort of like it was a thing from, I think it was the GoFundMe page that kind of alluded to this. The belief is that the hacker had called up the net domain service, claiming to be Dragoneer's estate, and the net domain service sort of went along with that and didn't do too much on follow-up, and that's how people believe that it got into that person's hands. And so, like, this is why estate planning is very important. Having a plan in place for when you pass, especially if you are in charge of a large community. If you are in charge of a large community and a lot of people depend upon you, maintaining a website or maintaining a community, having a sort of heir/plan in place for what that estate goes to is extremely important, because it'll cut down on some of this, like, what are the expenses that our service still owes, like what are all this information that a lot of people are trying to acquire about Fur Affinity, but also helps prevent this sort of social engineering attack that seem to have occurred here. If you have somebody who contacts the domain, contacts all these different groups that that your organization, that your company works for, like for instance for Affinity, it's like, okay, the person who owns the domain and owns these things has passed. Like, the first thing you got to do is, like, say, okay, who is responsible for contacting these groups, saying, the person has passed on, here's the plan going here from here on out. So, you got to think about those things, especially as us furries get older. I think that's much more and more important thing to kind of, belay and kind of go over and kind of, make sure that we have those things in place. Because then, like, one of the part about being afraid of death is that, like, what do you do when the person passes on? It's like, well, then if you have a plan in place, then, you won't fear it as much, right? You'll be able to move forward and try to, you'll be able to move forward with less fear in your mind and in your heart about, like, where things are going to go after you go, because you already have a plan in place. So that being said, like, as far as hacks and as far as issues that, Fur Affinity goes, I'm very proud of the new staff. And ironically, I think this is where, I don't know what the motive of the person who did this was, but unfortunately for them, like, it didn't really do the damage I think that they were looking to do to either the fandom or to Dragoneer's legacy. In fact, it kind of showed that the new Fur Affinity staff, as new as they are to this, was able to recover this situation in a relatively rapid fashion. It was like less than a few days. If you look at Fur Affinity's history, it's certainly not the longest issue that Fur Affinity has had to deal with, and you can see that in my article about Dragoneer's legacy. And all the articles that we wrote about it, one of the worst ones was way before I was even a writer at Flair. I believe that Fur Affinity had gone down for an entire month with some issue and people couldn't access the site. So that was like one of the longest issues, like one entire month. And then it wasn't even the biggest PR problem. Like, the biggest PR one, from what I can recall from Fur Affinity, was back in 2010 when there was a leaking of the Fur Affinity notes system, and some of the leaked notes from some people, such as Dragoneer, showed that they were sort of covering certain things that a lot of people said he shouldn't have covered for. Basically, he was like, there was like a popular artist that some other person was saying was, some other just regular furry fan was saying, like, this person abused me, and like Dragoneer was trying to move them away, like from causing a stink about it, or sort of, doing that, because it's like, well, if you pursue this, they're going to come after you. Like, So basically, it was a big old PR, egg in the face, because Dragoneer was kind of seeming like he was trying to protect an artist over a person who was victimized, was allegedly victimized by that artist. And so like that sort of private conversation came into the light, and it made a really big PR problem for Dragoneer and for Affinity. And a lot of people stopped using the notes system on for Affinity after that leaking incident of the furry notes because of that situation. So, it's not the worst. So this recent one where like the person did try to do damage to Dragoneer, it's like here's a picture of a here's an adult work that he had commissioned, and it's like, yeah, and most furries have adult work commissioned for them, so that's not really it's not really like, oh no, furry got a picture, an NSFW picture commissioned. Oh my, stop the presses. You know what I mean? It's like it was a nothing burger on a ham sandwich. It was just not anything that would have been worth the risk of basically taking over the entire site's domain. And honestly, it's like, as much as you could dislike Dragoneer, it like taking over that website didn't really do any harm to Dragoneer. Like, he's gone, man. Like, this is the thing about fandom, right? We all show our appreciation or our fandom in different ways. As they say, love and hate are kind of both sides of the same coin. And this guy clearly didn't like Dragoneer, but it's like, he's gone, man. Like, Dragoneer's gone. There's no, you can't you can't do damage to the man's reputation. He's already gone, right? It's like, you could like go after his legacy, I guess, but in that, it's like he already kind of had like this sort of like a muddied sort of legacy. It was not as clean. His record was not as clean as the artist that I talked about in that video, of Mr. Wayne. Like, there's literally a comment in that video going like, yeah, the artist is awesome and wonderful, but Dragoneer, not a big fan. And he was a controversial figure because he was a community leader, and sometimes he took it, and sometimes people would know he probably took advantage of that status more than he probably should have, and gave out bad advice, as I said in that note leak earlier. So, like, but instead of talking about that complicated legacy, right, now I'm talking about how, hey, this new, for Affinity team did a great job and restored this website for their artists, because now that's the news story, because someone decided to try to social engineer and get themselves into the for Affinity domain and use it as their own personal playground for like one day, right? And because they did that, now it's like, now it just kind of shows, it's like, you can say Dragoneer is a controversial figure, but clearly there are some folks that are less apt to be good leaders in this fandom. Maybe the person was jealous because that, maybe the person had a little jelly because, this person had power and things like that, and he didn't, and so I'm gonna guess it's a he. But whoever this person was, which we still don't know, and there were some theories and speculation, about who the person was by some people on the internet, but it's not entirely clear whether or not that was that person or not. So, like, there are other people that are going to be investigating this, because it was a hack. It was somebody going into a system they were not given permission to go into and messing around. So there is investigations going on about who this person was. And, clearly they were motivated by causing chaos or whatever they wanted to do. But, those will all come out in the end. And at the end of the day, a person, you can hold a grudge against a leader of a community all you want, but you should, like, the issue is that when you do that, it's always sort of like a sort of hostage situation where it's like taking action against an entire website because you're not a fan of the one person that runs it is not a great means about doing things, because the thing of the matter is that there's a lot of people who use that website, a lot of users who, could care less about Dragoneer, could care more or less about Dragoneer, who just want to like provide the content that they're creating for the site themselves. And it's not fair to the community as a whole for your grudge about one person to harm the community as a whole. The artists couldn't log in, they couldn't use the website to share their artwork pieces in any way, shape, or form with the community that they cared for. They couldn't share their journals and their thoughts and things like that. And as much as I noted in the last video that Fur Affinity isn't really the primary contact of choice for furries, there are still some furries who do use it as sort of their primary thing, or even as a secondary thing. And it really shouldn't be up to some guy with a grudge on their shoulder to just want to see the whole thing burn because they didn't care for the guy who owned it before they passed away, and took advantage of the fact that they passed away in order to get themselves injected into the system to muddy the waters and do what that will on that. So everyone suspects that the hacker's another furry. It's as I said, fandom's weird. This person clearly had passion about Dragoneer, and that passion is like passion drives people to do strange things. Fandom is tied to the word fanatic, right? Somebody who's fanatical about something. And so, those strong emotions, can run wild within the people who cared for Dragoneer and were very close to him, and for the people who despised him to such a degree that they would risk, getting in legal trouble for trying to take over a website that was not theirs to begin with. But anyways, there's an article in the description below that was done by Wolfman Fur. Wolfman Fur is, I'm kind of glad to see that somebody else is kind of taking a little bit of these reins. He kind of made a good rough draft, and Green Reaper kind of edited that rough draft and posted it on the website. It's good to see that other people are taking some of these reins and taking some of these stories and adding and contributing to Flera, because as I said, you have to worry about the whole legacy thing, and as you get older, you have to have somebody willing to put in the time and effort to kind of get that information presented, so that so that more that we can keep news, so that we can maintain our history and things like that. It's bigger than one person. It's bigger than some Roo in a suit. Bigger than some dog with a patch fur in the San Francisco area. It's bigger than any one person, which is why I don't tend to see my other people like Wolfman Fur as rivals. I see them more as, hopefully, if they are able to pick up the reins and do more and provide more of this information and do a good job with it, and with the assistance of our editor-in-chief and myself, then I think that that'll help in the future. But anyways, as I said, the article with breakdowns of information is in the description below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I didn't do this one in VR because one of my lighthouse towers, they call them lighthouse towers or bases, is broken. So I have 2 more on the way, so that I'll have 3 in total, so that I'll have 3, and then if one of them breaks, then I'll have 2. So that way I won't have this kind of situation happen again. But anyways, I got some, I don't know if you noticed, but these are a little bit different. These are from Fursuit Glasses as well. So I did buy a few of them, and these ones obviously are, I think, are the ones that work with my fursuit the best. It's not too much different from the big party glasses, but it is a little bit more angular. So I think that they work really well. But I can try other ones on in some of these videos. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.